Hello, my creative friend. Do not forget that on Wednesdays we have bite-sized videos, a dose of inspiration to help you on your creative journey, aside from these longer form episodes on Mondays. And also, thank you very much for clicking that like button right now before you minimize the tab and get to your creative work. Now go create something amazing and enjoy the episode. Your Creative Push, episode 361.
I always feel like if I'm not completely miserable and suffering, then I'm not working hard enough.
Welcome to Your Creative Push, the podcast that pushes you to pursue your creative passions. I'm your host, Youngman Brown, and my guest today is Xabio Arts, aka Andrew Bosch. Andrew is a drawing YouTuber that makes funny and helpful videos. Along with his drawing tutorials and speed paintings, he also offers a candid look into the life of an artist and how he navigates resistance. And Andrew comes on the show today to talk about his frustration when trying to follow the tutorials of other polished professionals and why he puts his mistakes and first drafts into his videos. Andrew also discusses how your eye for mistakes levels up as your actual skills level up and how he battles procrastination even in his dreams. Andrew shares how he deals with negative comments, his relationship with likes, and the experience of taking breaks from creating YouTube videos, but thinking about them the entire time. He also talks about the card game that he's creating and how he's involving his audience in the process, his sneaky hack for getting more engagement on YouTube and other platforms, and finally, the experience of drawing with his mouth. I had such a fun time talking with Andrew, and I know that this is an episode that is going to make you laugh just as much as it's going to inspire you. So give it up for my guest today, Andrew Bosch. Andrew, welcome to Your Creative Push.
Hello, everyone.
Yay, hello. So you have put a smile on my face with your YouTube channel for the past few months, but really like the past couple days I've been really consuming your content, and you just have a different way of communicating about what it is to be an artist or what it is to be an aspiring artist, and just kind of dealing with the things that all creative people deal with on a daily basis, which is what this show is all about. I think you just have a really lighthearted way of approaching things, not taking things too seriously, and it's like a voice that is desperately needed, especially like in the past couple months, just like the stress of being home and kind of living with doubts and living with fears and stuff like that. So I've really been excited to get you on the show, and I'm happy to talk to you today.
Wow, what an introduction, man. Thank you very much.
Oh, of course, man. I always like to give my guests the opportunity at the start of the show to sort of lay the groundwork. How did you get to the point you are today, creatively speaking?
Okay, so I make videos on YouTube. Most of them are tutorial videos. Some of them are just drawing dumb things. But I think it started when I was like 15 or something, watching Mark Crilley, and then later Jazza, and then a channel called FZD, Feng Zhu Design, which is a concept art YouTube channel. And so I really, really, really wanted to be a concept artist so bad. But I was only 15, so I didn't know what to do. I thought, hey, maybe I can just do this on my own. Because I see these YouTube videos, I'm like, maybe I can just do that. And so after reading a couple books and watching some YouTube videos and stuff, I finally got to the point where I made art that I knew could pass in a studio. Even if I was really slow at making it and not efficient or anything, I knew that the final pieces could pass. And so I kind of promised myself that if I ever got to that point, that I would show other people how to do it, because it's so hard to learn on your own without like a mentor pointing out your mistakes and going through your art. And so I just wanted an easier way for other people to do that.
Yeah, it is so hard. And we were talking a little bit before we got on, which is something that I don't think a lot of people do, but of showing your mistakes. And in today's day and age, like where everybody, it's almost like a necessity to have social media and to share your work, and that's how you build an audience. it's so hard to show a mistake because you feel like, oh, I'll lose followers or I'll lose respect or I'll lose whatever. But so much of what makes an artist is like just that under the iceberg type of mistakes, all of the hard grunt work that you have to put in to become good and become proficient at what you're doing. And even when you are good at what you're doing, you still have to start out with like a bad sketch, or you even mentioned in one of your videos, like, this is what artists do. Like, you have to warm up, you have to get loose, you have to, do that first character design that you don't really like. And then you can really open up the creativity once the muscles are moving. And I think it's really important. So what gave you that sort of mentality, or even sort of the bravery, I guess, to in your videos like include
you
like
guys are so brave.
well, I think it is a brave thing because like especially when you know that your audience's attention span in this day and age is so short, like you might not even have them for that long, to like include the first mistakes, then you completely erase it and then go on to the next thing. What's the mentality behind that?
I think it's weird that you say that because that's probably the thing that I'm most insecure about. Like before I record every video, I gotta like psych myself up, take some deep breaths, and I can do this. I can do this. It doesn't matter. Put it out on YouTube. People will watch it. It's fine. They're not going to hate you if you upload this video. I think the reason why I put those mistakes in there is because I know how much it sucks for me to feel like I need to put out perfect art. And I know that it's a common thing, so I don't want people to feel that same insecurity, because like that's the thing. Personally, that's the thing that stops me from making art the most, is when I have sucky drawings. But most of my drawings suck so bad. Like almost none of, like maybe 1 out of 10 things that I do is like acceptable. And of those acceptable ones, 1 out of 10 things are actually good. So yeah, it kills you so much to have that fear of failure,
Mm-hmm. What allows you to put it out? Like, what allows you to include it anyway,
That's a really good question. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. I think like a lot of people on Instagram especially, but like everyone everywhere on the internet, you post what you want people to see. And I think it's weird for us to finally see somebody posting what's actually there. And by the way, I'm not saying that I do that, because I still post what I want people to see. Like every time I put out a video, every single second of that video has purpose. So I'm still making you see what I want you to see. But yeah, I just think it's weird how we, you find the right angle for a selfie, but like we always think it's so, it's like a novel treat to find a picture of a celebrity that's actually candid, instead of, it's a candid photo.
But they're perfectly made up and
yeah, but they took it themselves. Yeah.
Perfect lighting.
Yeah. So like, let's say what's a celebrity that's like let's say a Kardashian or Zendaya or something, right? Like if you saw a photo that their friend took of them while they were eating or something that wasn't as they were trying to look good, people would pay attention to that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's not my mission to do that. I think it's interesting that you pointed that out. And I didn't really even notice that, but it just takes too much time to try to be perfect.
It does. And it being a perfectionist is something that I struggle with. It's something that a lot of the previous guests have talked about. A lot of the listeners have talked about. It's tough. It's tough you feel like you need to be that perfect version of yourself, and you're always making, perfect drawings, and you want to have the perfect following and the perfect clients, and everything needs to be perfect. It's hard to show the daily struggle.
And if you get that perfect thing, then that might not be the thing that you actually want in the end. Plus, it pisses me off when you see a YouTube like an art tutorial or like a drawing tutorial, and everything they do is just so methodical and perfect. And when you go to follow it, it doesn't end up like they have it. So then you have this squiggly drawing in front of you and you're like, man, this thing sucks.
Right.
So like I hate that. Like it's like draw a circle, and you can tell that they spent like a full 2 minutes drawing a perfect circle because they speed it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in reality, nobody's gonna take that time to spend 2 minutes on a stupid circle. So I start with a squiggly circle, like they would.
Right. That's why it's so important, though, because I think that the demoralization that happens in artists or any type of
That's a
creative
great
person.
word.
What's that? Demoralization.
Demoralization. I like that one.
Well, I think the whole artistic process is just battling demoralization, like that comes at one point or another. So
Of
it's
your
like
art or
when
yourself?
of everything, of your art, of what it means for yourself, of what it means about you as a person. When you see on social media that the what we're talking about, like all the perfect, even when they're making a tutorial, they're not making mistakes. It's like you assume that when it takes you a few tries or it takes you a couple minutes to draw a circle that looks decent enough to go to move on with, like that says something about you as a person, because you're not faced with the reality that everybody's making mistakes. Everybody needs to warm up. Everybody has garbage days where everything they throw in the trash. Like it's important to sort of shed light and to show that that's like a normal thing that everybody experiences so that you can move on with your artistic life. I know you're always on social media. You're like, get off of this app. Like on Instagram, you're like, get off and create something. Like stop thinking about like, so I think it's so important to shed light. Like there should be a movement about what we're talking about. And I'm glad that it's not a big deal to you or a focus to you. But I applaud you for including all that stuff.
Thanks. You want a real example of this?
Yeah.
So I'm working with an art supply company right now who sent me a bunch of supplies that they want me to use for a video.
Give them a shout out.
Arteza.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So they sent me some really nice stuff, and it's supplies that are, way nicer than I usually work with. So they sent me some really good stuff, and I started working with it, and oh man, everything that I did I filmed for like 4 hours straight. Everything was shit. Everything. And I feel so bad because, they sent me such nice stuff and none of what I made is good.
Now, is that a result of, working with something different, or is it a pressure on yourself, or is it just chalk up to it's just a bad day?
Probably the pressure, and also the fact that I'm just really not a good artist in general. So like I want to be way better than I actually am, you know what I mean? So it's very rare that I have a drawing that I actually like. But yeah, these ones were extra bad.
I think that that's an important thing for people to know too, that even when you get to a certain point, the goalpost keeps moving, where you're always going to be somewhat dissatisfied. Like so many people are like, all right, once I get 1,000 followers, or once I get 10,000 followers, I'll be happy with my standing in the art world, which is never true. Like no matter what threshold you hit, you're always going to need more, and it's the same with like art styles or art skills. It's like, all right, like once I get to the point where I can do this and it doesn't take forever, then I'll be happy. But like, it's really important to know
then you
that
just want more. Yeah.
Right. It's good to know that you still think that you're a bad artist, even though you're not.
I think part of that is because your eye for mistakes changes too, because like how like seasoned professionals will be able to take a look at amateur art and be able to tell them exactly what's wrong with it, but then you take another person who doesn't know much about art and they'll be like, it looks fine to me. I think it's like that, you know what I mean? Like you start seeing mistakes in your art as you level up in your art, and so your ability to critique yourself levels up as well, which is how you get better, obviously. But yeah, like you said, the goalpost keeps moving, so you can't expect yourself to get satisfied once you get to a certain level of art.
Right. And that's why perfectionism is such a sham too, because you might get to that point where, okay, it's finally perfect. I've spent 10 hours touching this thing up, whatever the thing is, and it's ready to go on social media. Guaranteed, if you keep working on your craft, if you keep getting better, in 2 years, when you look back at that, you're like, I can't believe I put that out.
Exactly. That's how I feel about all my YouTube videos, by the way. I hate them all.
Really?
Yeah. There's so many times when I just want to delete my channel.
Stop.
Yeah. It's the same thing with like, my old art. It's like I wouldn't go posting my old art on social media and be like, look guys, it's really good.
Well, they're not bad. Please never delete your channel. Please never maybe take down some of your old art if you want, but yeah, I think it's an important lesson for artists to know that you're eventually going to grow to get better and be a like more evolved artist. So embrace those old drawings so you can see the progress,
Yeah, if I deleted my videos, I'd be a hypocrite.
Good, okay.
Damn, I was one podcast away from deleting my channel. You're lucky.
Well, as we're speaking, I'm backing up all your videos right now, and I'll re-release them if you do delete them. So
You re-upload them, and then after they get re-uploaded, they'll get so much more attention than the actual channel.
Yes. As you were telling that story about working with the new materials, you had this other video where it was kind of like a 15-minute journey that we took with you as you just procrastinated, not doing, you're just rolling around on the floor.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a pretty old one.
It is a pretty old one, but it I think relates to the idea, because I think that was a sponsored one too, where you're feeling the pressure of, what was that app called with the all the figures where you can see the figures from all different angles?
Figurosity.
Figurosity.
Yeah, shout out to Figurosity. Really great company.
And it's free,
Message
right?
the dude. Yeah. They have, of course, they have a paid, premium version, which is amazing. It has some really cool features, but yeah, you can use some of their stuff. The free version is good too.
So what is your like role with procrastination then? Like, does that come all the time when a big project comes up, or like, how do you deal with it?
What a big question that I'm not going to be able to answer. I think most of my energy is spent trying really hard not to procrastinate. And then the rest of my energy is spent beating myself up about procrastinating. And that's basically my whole life. That's all I'm doing.
Have you ever found a way to be kinder to yourself, or to actually battle the procrastination itself?
No, and sleep doesn't even help either, because I even dream about not getting my work done. I'm not even kidding you.
Yeah, I do too.
I dream about being really upset with myself that I haven't gotten more done.
Do you ever feel satisfied? Like, do you ever feel like you get to a point where you're like, wow, okay, I got that done? Or does in the same way that your kind of art style always, the goalpost always moves, like with the skills, and you feel like you're still not a good artist? Does that happen too, where like, oh, I got some stuff done today. I got, a video done or 2 videos done, plus I filled my sketchbook, but I still feel like I didn't do enough?
I think there are times when I logically know that I got stuff done, but I don't think I ever feel like I got stuff done. I think I always feel like if I'm not completely miserable and suffering, then I'm not working hard enough. I think I've always felt that way too. Like I've done wrestling my whole life. And so like I grew up around it all the way up through high school. And so I was always the one who was like, with a wrestling family, I had like big expectations from the community, because all of my brothers, each one as they got younger and younger, got better and better. And so it was like on me to be the best one since I'm the youngest. And so I was always had to be the hardest working one in practice. And so I was like, even like working outside of practice, exercising outside of that and stuff, and doing way more than I needed to. And to the point where it was so miserable, I didn't even like wrestling anymore. And I do the same thing with art and with making videos. And it's like, if I'm not pulling all-nighters and making myself miserable, then I don't feel like I'm doing enough, which is terrible. That's not a lifestyle that you can sustain.
So have you found any way to, I don't want to say battle that, because you have to battle the battle, but have you found a way to live with that? Because I think like what you're describing is a kind of a beneficial mindset to have, especially when you're starting out, like to just keep pushing and to kind of have that energy to keep pushing. But at some point, you're right, you will find burnout. Do you Like what happens when you do kind of hit the wall, so to speak?
Well, I hit the wall like every time. I think I would be way more productive if I just stuck to a normal schedule and just did that consistently and was much more healthy about my sleep and other habits, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I just did it like like right now, I'll like stay up all night and do stuff. But if I just, dedicated, even if I only did it for like 4 hours a day, if it was consistent at like the same time every day and like the rest of the day I was taking care of myself, I would still get way more done. But I think I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't think anybody knows what they're doing too. Have you ever had like a long break? Have you ever had a time where you put down the pencil, so to speak, or put down the YouTube or the video camera, so to speak, or took a long break?
Yeah, I did. I think I did it twice on my YouTube channel for a few months each time. And each time I still thought about making YouTube videos every single day.
So
like
you couldn't, it's like you couldn't get away from it?
Yeah. I think it's just a part of me now. And if I'm not making videos, I'm thinking about making videos. I can't even watch a TV show without thinking about how, like, dissecting how they did certain things, character dynamics and stuff. So I'm like, hey, maybe I'll write a story one day or whatever, like it's always relating back to me creating something. And it's exhausting because I can't just sit down and relax and watch TV.
I completely agree with you. Like as a writer, I can't, I've said this on the show before too, like once you kind of become a writer, you can't read as a reader anymore. It's like you're reading as a writer and exactly like you said, trying to dissect it, and it ruins things. And it's one of I'm really interested in music, and I've always kind of wanted to do like music production, but I am afraid to, because I feel like once I start down that journey, start learning some of the magic of how these incredible musicians do what they do, it will completely destroy that magic. And I won't be able to listen to music and get into that zone where I can just kind of completely like lose myself. It's like always the analytical chatter going on. So I completely relate.
Yeah, I think if you start with music, it's going to ruin that magic for you. But I wouldn't let that stop you, because it's like, I don't know. I think there's a trade-off. There is also magic in being able to make things. And it's true that like there's a formula to things. And once you realize that, and that, you don't necessarily have to have any inherent talent, that it's a skill that you can learn, just like with, art or writing or whatever. It kind of ruins it for you. It's like saying that there's no God, it's like, what's the purpose of life then? What's the purpose of making music if I know what the formula is? But also at the same time, like now you'll be able to, it unlocks new abilities for you to be able to do.
Absolutely. I recently spoke with a singer and actress, Talia Jackson, and a big focus of our conversation was like negative comments. And because she got a whole whirlwind of them when her show came out.
What were they saying? What's her show?
It's on Netflix, and it's all African American actors, and she's mixed.
Oh, and people were upset because she's mixed. She's
mixed, and they're saying, why is this girl trying to be a part? Yeah, so it like, she was so upset because she thought it like ruined the show. It was a great episode to listen to, but on your channel, you've talked about mindset and how you can take, there's inevitably, if you're putting your art out there, there's going to inevitably be people that don't get it, or just trolls, or just haters, people that are leaving negative comments. But your advice was, hey, you can decide to have a different mentality when you get a negative comment. You can decide to actually enjoy it. And you even said that you kind of enjoy when you get a negative comment. So what can you please share the insight to that? Because I think that's a huge shift for people to be able to get past not only negative comments when they come, but the fear of negative comments and just people not liking your work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Negative comments. Yeah. Oh, such a good topic right now too, because I think things are heating up in the world of the interwebs.
Yes.
It's just
Getting hot.
it's getting hot. Like we knew that like 2012 and like that era of YouTube and stuff, or the internet, I guess, was bad when it came to hate comments. But now, especially with Twitter, it's like, oh man, people jump on you for everything, and if you don't have the ability to contextualize those things, then it can be really devastating. Okay, so I remember when I was a sophomore in high school, I made my first YouTube video on a different channel. I forgot the password of that channel, so I can't go back and do anything with it. But it was a prank video where I dressed up as Goku from Dragon Ball Z and ran around the school while I was supposed to be in class. I left class and ran around school and was screaming at all the teachers and students and stuff in other people's classrooms. And was like on the table at lunchtime, firing a Kamehameha blast at the assistant superintendent. And that was my last day at that school.
Because of that, or it just
no,
happened
not
to be
because
the
of
last
that.
day?
I oh man, wow, this kind of goes full circle. I actually convinced my parents to let me be homeschooled, but it was really just student directed learning is what I pitched it to them as, which is just me doing whatever the fuck I wanted. But no, my goal, I did art all day, every day. And so that was, I was 15. And so I was just watching YouTube videos and studying and getting better and better and better because I was going to be a concept artist working at a AAA game studio. That never happened. Yeah, thank God for my parents being able to do that, because I got so good so quick from that. Like, looking back at my art at the time when I convinced them to let me quit public school, it was so bad. like if that were my kid, I'd be like, I don't know, sweetie, I think you need to practice a little more before you can convince me that this is going to be your career.
Right. Well, good for them.
But yeah, so I made a video about that prank that I did, and I remember it got some attention, but not in the way that I wanted. Like, people were saying that I was cringy and saying really mean things, and I felt so bad about myself. I even cried when I read some of them, and thinking back at it now, like, it's kind of pathetic. But
no, it's not.
But I had no experience with hate comments like that. The only time that I had people say anything to me on the internet was like, a friend on Instant Messenger or something, which, that was almost 10 years ago. So that's when we were IMing each other instead of using
Good
all
old
these
days.
Sweet apps. Yeah. Oh man, back when LOL was so cool to use.
Right. You put up you don't want to talk to somebody, put up your away message.
Exactly. Oh man, that was so great. But yeah, so that was my first experience. And then after doing this Xabio Arts YouTube channel and getting some of that and persevering through that, I went back and watched that video, cringed at myself, obviously, and then read the hate comments. And I was like laughing at them. I read all of them and I laughed. They were so funny. And I genuinely liked them. I think the reason why is because after making YouTube videos for a while, you realize that, and I think this actually comes with not necessarily the amount of time that you've been making videos, but the amount of attention that you get. Like, once you get to a certain point where you get lots of comments every day, you start reading them and you find a pattern, just like with any data set, you start finding patterns in it because you have enough of it. Like once the sample size is big enough, you start to see averages in any sort of like experiment or whatever. So I started seeing, like, people would say everything from, they're obsessed with my content and binging it, to go kill yourself. And I was like, well, fuck, I can't. I can't believe anything anybody says, the good comments or the bad comments. So I just kind of got to take it with a grain of salt, I guess, and realize that everybody has a completely different life that they're living. And whatever they put in that comment is more of a result of whatever's going on in their life than a reflection of my content. Because I've watched a video twice during different times of my life and seen it in a completely different light. So your content is not necessarily reflected in a literal way when somebody comments on it. It's more of how that content came to that person in that point in their life. So yeah, if you get any hate comments, I wouldn't worry about it. I think it's a reflection of them. And if they say something bad about you, I think you have to feel bad for them, that they would feel like it's okay to do something to hurt somebody, It's like the classic bully in school, you can't, there's only so much hate that you can have for a bully before you just feel bad for them once you realize the reason behind it. You know what I mean?
Right.
The bullies are usually the ones that are hurting the most, and the bullies are actually the ones who need to be protected.
Yeah. It's tough too, especially when you can't put a face to it. You can only see the words, and especially when the words come so close to your initial fear for putting the thing up in the first place. That's where it's tough. But you're right. It is trying to see the other person, not to be too sappy, but like with love almost. Like, all right, you're just another person experiencing this life from a completely different set of data.
Yeah, and it's easy to take it personally because we put so much of ourselves into our art, and then it takes so much courage to post it online. And then when somebody tears that down, it's like, you're being vulnerable and they're hitting you right where in a soft spot, So it makes sense to take it personally, but don't.
Right. What's your relationship with likes? Because I know one of my favorite quotes of yours is when you say, "We need likes and likes only." Like that's the only reason you're putting art up, which I know is a joke. But what is your relationship with likes, or with the amount of traction that, say, a particular video or a post that you put on Instagram or your art gets? Like, how much value do you put in that, or do you kind of leave it up to the YouTube algorithm and just write it off?
Yeah, that's a weird thing because, there are some videos that you put up that you put a lot of time into and it doesn't get any views. And then other things are just shit posts, and then it hits the algorithm just right, and then it gets 250,000 views in a week, and you're like, I don't know what happened. I can't repeat it. I can't just shit post all the time because that doesn't mean that you're going to hit the algorithm every time. And for anybody who doesn't know, like, hitting the algorithm just means like YouTube has a complex and always evolving system of what they promote to people. And so, you can never really predict when a video is going to get recommended to everybody. But every once in a while, you'll have this video that just goes crazy. So when it comes to likes, logically, of course, likes don't mean anything. But at the same time, I think it's a fundamental human need for validation, and likes are a very easy, simple way to quantify that. So it's easy to get wrapped up in that. I think I'm always fighting myself on that because I do like likes, It sends the good chemicals to my brain when I see more likes. It makes me feel good. But yeah, I'm always fighting that because it doesn't mean that your content is good or bad.
Right. More people happen to maybe see it.
Yeah.
You're also doing something I think which is incredible, which is illustrating a card game. But you're not just illustrating a card game. You're sort of inviting your audience into the process of it.
Hell yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah. Okay.
Because how long has that been going on?
Oh, man, for way too long. I think people have lost interest by now.
No.
I don't even have a name for the card game yet. Yeah, so my buddy and I created a board game but the board game was way too complex. And I give a lot of credit to him. Shout out to Travis Newcomb of Timorum Gamers on YouTube. He's kind of a visionary when it came to this board game, and that it was like, you know how D&D, like the original one, like revolutionized everything because it gave you a whole new system to work with.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that this one is as revolutionary as D&D, but it's in that same vein of like I think it'll make people think about board games in a different way. But the thing is, there's so much that needs to go into it that it can't just, it's so hard for two people to do, and we need so much play testing that we just realized it wasn't practical to do, at least for a first product. So we dumbed it down to a card game, which is essentially it's a completely different game, just loosely based on the system that he created. And it's got some RPG elements. There's some character archetypes, weapons, and other items that you can use, spells and abilities. You know, you fight other players, kind of like I guess Magic the Gathering, but not really. But
Not as complex, or
complex in a different way. You know,
Mhm.
it's like if you take an RPG video game and put it into a card game. You're able to equip items, able to use spells and abilities, able to burn and recharge magic points. You know, like spells cost magic, and you have so much of that. But also, it's completely customizable. So you can start with an archetype, but then customize your character to be different than what it is. So you can either play as just the straight archetype that we build for you. That's like the recommended beginner level, or you can essentially create your own character and build it from scratch. And so it's going to have a little bit of like sandbox elements to it. So you can either just play it as the game out of the box, or you can use it as tools to make your own game, essentially. So kind of like how D&D did, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so what I'm doing with that is I know that with monetizing your passion or just doing anything online, it's like you need two things. You need, well, really one thing. You just need attention. And so I got some attention with my YouTube channel. And so I'm like, okay, how do I turn views into sales? And also I needed a way to engage my community in a project. What I'm doing is every episode of this series is creating new elements of the card game. So we did items, and now we're doing like spells and abilities and stuff. And with each one, I say, okay, here are the cards that I'm going to be designing in the next episode, but I'll give you a chance to come up with the designs yourself. And so when that time comes around for me to design, like, let's say, like chain armor, boots, swords, whatever, when it comes time to do that, I start by going through all of the sketches of the people who have sent in their designs. And then I go through and design it from start to finish. And then hopefully by the end, I will have had enough people that hopefully here, what I want is for you to be like, okay, I've put work into this. I've submitted it. I've even been on one of his videos with one of my sketches. I've done so much for this and watched the videos. I gotta buy the game now, if nothing else, just to look at the artwork. So it was to get sales and to engage my viewers in a project. And plus, I know that like when I was like 15, 16, I would kill to have a project like that.
Yeah, to be a part of it.
Yeah. Even if like I never got on the video, just to have something that, you know, one of my favorite YouTubers is working on. And actually I go through and like every single drawing that I see. So to know that like he saw my drawing and that he's making these things, and then seeing like, you know, I made my design, now I see how he does it. Man, I would buy that so fast. The very few things that I've bought from YouTubers were books that they had been talking about that they're working on. Like Mark Crilley had done videos where he had used panels from his comic book. I bought his comic book. Scott Robertson, I think, did a series on like perspective drawing, and he was referencing stuff that was in the book that he was writing. And once it was out, I bought it so fast, and I'm so cheap. I don't buy anything. So I want to do the same thing with the card game.
Yeah, that kind of connection is, it's something that's really, it shouldn't be so hard to cultivate on paper, but it does seem to be like a really hard thing to, you do like when you have a community, whether it's a small one or a big one, to be able to have that sort of a give and take relationship almost. Like it's one thing to comment on your favorite person's Instagram post or whatever, and then you get a response. That's cool. But to be able to have like what you're doing is amazing. Like they get to be a part of it, even a big part of it if you use some of their concepts or, their art or their ideas. But at the very least, they get to learn because you're doing tutorials. So you're also getting content out of it. But you get to have your community be a part of you, which is, I think, something that's really hard to do as a creative person. Especially when you're building an audience, like to have that give and take relationship. It's like you can come up with all these ideas, but I think you're actually implementing it. Like I know you're saying and it's going on longer than you want it to, but I think that's even cooler, like that it gets to be like maybe a multi-month or multi-year project that they'll finally be able to see, a finished product come out of it. And that's inspiration for them then to start their own project, to see that, okay, it's going to take a lot of time and work, but like these ideas that I have in my head, maybe I can make them into a reality.
Yeah, that's a good point, because that was one of the things that I was missing when I was learning, is I desperately wanted a project so bad, like an actual project. I didn't even care if it was a real one or if it was paid or not or whatever. Even just to have a YouTuber saying like, here's your fake project I want you to work on. I just needed some structure to go with my learning. And also, when it comes to like community stuff, if you're going to be creating stuff online, I think it's actually more important to think about it as organizing and leading a community rather than making videos or making art or whatever, because you need repeat customers. You need people that care about you. And so, like, I think one of the things that the more successful YouTubers do is when you look at them, it's not that they make amazing videos, it's that they're amazing at bringing their community together over and over. Like PewDiePie, for example, he's got this whole subreddit dedicated to him, and he goes through it, and people are fighting to get to the top of that. Like they're fighting to be in his community. And I think that's way more important than just making good art or making good videos or whatever, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It does take creative ways to do that, though. You even have the comment game. Can you explain that?
Oh, yeah, I stopped doing that.
Did you?
Yeah, I think I did unintentionally. But yeah, I had a few ways, kind of sneaky, slimy ways of getting people to interact with the video more. Because I know that the YouTube algorithm is like, first of all, you need to hook them with a thumbnail and title. And then once they're in there, you need to make them stay for as long as possible. YouTube really cares about watch time. But then once they watch the video, you want them to engage in some way. So like either subscribing, liking the content, or commenting or sharing it or whatever. That's why they always say like, comment, subscribe, whatever. It's because it tells YouTube that they care about that video enough to do something. Your video is creating an action. And so I put stuff in the video and in the description and in the pinned comment saying like just some weird question or something. And then one of those people gets to be on the next video. And it's a really small reward that means a lot for some people, being able to be mentioned. But the point is, you got a few people who write a comment hoping to get into the next video. And it's just extra comments for you. Plus, it's an excuse for me to put people in my videos. I like doing it.
Right. No, but what you said about the YouTube algorithm and, generating comments, like all that is good and well, but it's also like being able to find ways to, this applies for everyone, like find creative ways to get your community involved or create like a subset of your community that feels like they're part of like a secret subset of your base fans, like
Oh yeah.
like a secret game, like, oh, like we're, like it's like you're the next level up of a fan because you know about the comment game and you participate and you then are actively waiting for the next video to see if you were picked, I think it's just important for people to, as you're building an audience, to find ways to bring that community together. Because like you said before, like that's what it's all about. It's kind of cultivating that community and serving them.
Yeah, that's one of the things I didn't realize when I started the YouTube channel was how weird it was going to feel. You kind of have to be okay in a leader position. Not that like I don't even have like a big fan base or anything, but you have to be the leader of people, and it's weird. One of those ways you were saying like how they feel like they're in on the secret. One of the things I did is at the bottom of the description of my videos, I say, hey, if you read this far, comment something about the octopus tentacles that you saw in the middle of the video, and everybody's going to be so confused. They're like, oh, I'm in on the joke, And so then they go to the next video awesome. And then they wait they immediately hop into the description and be like, okay, what's this week going to be?
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't know you did that. See?
Yeah, and then other people are like, why is everybody talking about octopus tentacles? I could not see it. Or no, what was one of them? It was like when that guy popped in the window, LOL. But there was no window. And so there were other comments that was like, I watched the video 3 times. I cannot find the guy in the window. So then you get extra views because of it too.
Oh, that's awesome. I know. I mean, I've been confused sometimes, like by the video itself. I've seen guys sniffing milk or like.
Oh yeah, and then the comment game thing is like, now you got to count how many times the guy sniffed the milk.
Oh my god!
It's like just a picture of a dude sniffing milk, and then some people will rewatch it and then comment, and then I'll put one of them in the next video.
That's awesome. Before we let you go, I just wanted to ask you if you would mind telling us the story about drawing with your mouth.
Oh, yeah. So I drew with my mouth because I don't remember which post I made, but I think I did something on Instagram or on YouTube, and somebody said something about how they have to draw with their mouth because they can't use their arms. And so I'm like, oh, well, shit, I can't complain about anything now because at least I get to use my hands,
Yeah.
And so I decided to just make a video drawing with my mouth and my struggles with that. And then I mentioned him in the video and showed him, totally schooling me in the art of drawing with your mouth. Oh, man, he's so good.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Juan Trevino, such a good guy.
Andrew, we always like to end with the final push. And that's where I ask you to reach through the microphone and grab the shoulder of somebody that you've really inspired today and just give them your best final words of advice and push them to pursue their own creative passions.
Bold of you to assume I've inspired anyone. Let's get that out of the way first.
You've inspired me, sir, so gotcha.
All right. Reaching through the microphone, grabbing your shoulder right now. Imagine that my hand is very sweaty, not like in a bad way, just like clammy, a little shaky because I haven't eaten much. Drank a little coffee. We're good though. I'm touching your shoulder, not in like a bad way, like in a friendly way. You gave me consent. You approved of this. You asked for it. And now I'm here for you. And I'm here to say that it's all a simulation. Nothing is real. Your life is meaningless. And you should drink more water. Stay hydrated, my friend. And then as far as art goes, I think, let's see, for actual inspiration, I don't know, man. I'm always in a perpetual state of not being inspired and having to just make stuff even though I don't have any motivation. So I think when you're doing stuff that like following your passion or whatever, I think there are going to be some serious roadblocks ahead. And if you have that passion, that drive, like truly like to your core, like this is what you're meant to do, then you'll get through it. And if not, you'll give up. And so I think I think that's really it. It's like you either do it or you don't. And if it's not for you, don't worry about it. And if it is, then you're going to have a lot of shit that you're going to have to crawl through. But if it's worth it, then you can totally do it.
Absolutely. Dude, Andrew, thank you so much for coming on the show today, for sharing your story, spending an hour with us, and sharing your inspiration, man. I appreciate it.
Longest hour of my life. Thank God it's done. No, I'm kidding. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No, thanks for being here, man. And like Andrew said, you can find him on YouTube, Xabio Arts, but that's with an X, Xabio Arts. And on Instagram and Twitter and everywhere else, he is the same. But we'll have all of that linked up at today's show notes page, yourcreativepush.com/361.
Hell yeah, go watch more Creative Push episodes.
Yes! Andrew, thanks again, man.
All right, take care, my man.
Huge thank you to Andrew once again for coming on the show. 2 quick things before I let you go. The first one's a quick one, and it's just a reminder that when you do take breaks from stuff, like Andrew did with his YouTube videos, and all you think about is that thing that you're taking a break from and getting new ideas and sort of recharging the battery, remember that that's a good thing. That is that sign that you are on the right path. The thing that probably burnt you out and sent you to take that break might have given you some doubts and might have given you some uncertainty as to whether or not you're supposed to be doing this thing. If you don't have inspiration anymore and you need to take that break, is this really what you're supposed to be doing? But when it's still all consuming like it was for Andrew, take that as a beautiful sign that yes, you are doing the right thing, but you did just get burnt out or you did just need some time off. But despite your declaration of taking a break from that thing, if those ideas are flowing through you and still coming to you, take the time to write them down, because you will get back to this thing, because it does consume you. So don't be afraid to, even though you said that you're not going to think about or do anything about this thing that you're taking a break from, still get those ideas down when you need them in the future, when you get back to this thing that you love. And the second big takeaway that I had from this episode was the idea of building your community and finding ways to incorporate your community into the thing that you do. Andrew had some great, unique ways that he incorporates his audience, not just by making that card game and then allowing his audience to literally be a part of it, but also having that secret group that he talked about, the comments game. What are some ways that you can incorporate your audience into your art making process? Even if it is a tiny audience, that will make it more manageable for you. You can have those one-to-one relationships with the people that already follow you and are already on board, the early adopters of you as an artist. Or if you're further along your journey and you actually have a bit of a following, one that's big enough that you can't have those one-to-one relationships, what are some creative ways that you can incorporate them into the process? Of course, you can get ideas from other artists that you follow, like Andrew, but your process and your platform is unique. And the answer probably already lies within you. It probably already lies within your comment section. If you go back and look to see what people are saying about your art, see the questions that they might have, the answer is probably there for you. So just take the time to sit down and really meditate on it, really think deeply about ways that you can incorporate your existing audience to make them a unique part of your art journey. On our next episode, we have Tom Ross and Mike Janda. Tom is the CEO of Design Cuts, and Mike is the author of Burn Your Portfolio. And combined, they have achieved over $50 million in revenue and have worked with clients like Disney, Google, and ABC. And they are co-hosts of the Biz Buds podcast, and they come on the show next week for probably one of the most powerful episodes and the most actionable episodes for you as a creative person to get into that mindset of building your following, building your mailing list, doing Instagram the right way, and of course, getting past resistances. If you want to check out the Biz Buds podcast before next week, you can find it on your favorite podcast app. And you can also find Mike on Instagram. He is More Janda, Janda. and Tom is Tom Ross Media. Or, of course, you can find all of those links at today's show notes page, along with everything we talked about with Andrew at yourcreativepush.com/361. But that's all I've got for you today, so hopefully you were inspired to go and get your work done. So go and get it done, and we will be here for you next week if you need that push again. I love you all so much, and remember that the universe needs your creations, and you are the universe. We'll see you next time. Hey YouTubers, if you like this episode, I handpicked another one for you. I think you'll like it just as much. Just click it right there on the left side of your screen, and on the right is a playlist of episodes from guests that came from the same creative field as the one that you just listened to. And please don't forget to hit that like button on your way out before it goes away. Enjoy the next episode.